a successful one. Thank you so much on the behalf of the management, Dr. Magdalena, for your cooperation, for making this international conference very challenging.
Thank you so much. I would like to, at the beginning, express my huge admiration for all people who are committed in preparing this huge venue in Karachi. Especially, I would like to address my admiration to Dr. Faisal. Unfortunately, I couldn't come to Karachi. I really regret the situation, but the plan was different. But life is full of surprises, as we can say. But I'm hoping that the next edition of this conference will let me come to your beautiful country and to meet in person, which is a better option than sitting in the front of the screen. So, at the beginning of my speech, I would like to put a question. Why I decided actually to talk about that kind of problem? Well, I believe that we all need to remember about people who came as refugees to Pakistan, and they have found here in your country a safe haven. And also, I would like to remember about those people who were able to implement those safe havens for vast majority of Polish women, children, and men. So we need to save their memory. So I will share with you my screen. Give me a second, because I'm not a very technical person. Okay. 1 second. I will upload the presentation. Okay. I hope you all see it well, and I hear it well. If anything, please let me know on the chat. So I will try to change something. I will tell something about the background, how the Poles actually appeared on the territory of Pakistan, and then I will briefly share with you the history of the two important refugee camps which were located in the territory of contemporary Pakistan. So, at the beginning of Hitler's aggression against the Soviet Union in June 1941, there were hundreds of thousands of Polish citizens deep within the territory of the Stalinist empire. They were deported to the Far East in the course of several large deportations carried out in the 40s. Some of them became labor camp prisoners, whereas the others, against their will, were mobilized by force to the Red Army. Alone exiles are estimated at least 325,000 people. The number of others reached from 100,000 to 250,000 Polish citizens. Mainly, there were women, children, and men. In 1941, as a result of the outbreak of Soviet-German war, Joseph Stalin announced so-called amnesty, which became a chance for the masses of brutally displaced Polish people into deep Siberia to return to their homelands. It was the beginning of the great evacuation of the Polish population under the wings of Polish General Władysław Anders. The evacuation of the Poles, which began at the beginning of the 40s last century, was possible to move about 40,000, primarily women and children, to countries far from the theaters of war, where they could wait patiently for the end of this massacre. As you can see on the first picture, there is a route how Poles were evacuated from the Soviet Union to the Middle East countries, primarily to the Palestine, and then to Iran and Afghanistan, and they stopped in India and in contemporary Pakistan. First Polish refugees in the territory of contemporary Pakistan appeared in April 1942 in the town of Quetta. At this time, this place played a significant role. It was a military garrison with its own airport. A group of Polish orphans stayed in the brick block of flats consisting of connected segments. Each segment had a small yard surrounded by a wall. In memory of Władysław Stepua, who lived in this place at the age of 7, we can read in his book that entering to the halls for the first time was a great shock for us. We were entering a completely different world, neat and orderly. I timidly approached my bed. At that moment I felt that I had my own place in the world. I had my bed, mine, and only mine. Another group of Poles from Iran arrived. I forgot about this picture. Here is a picture from the book of Mr. Stepua, from the time when he was in Quetta. It presents learning to ride a bike, which we find nowadays nothing special, but for children who were evacuated from the Soviet Union, it was like something spectacular. So we need to remember about this different perspective of those people who suffered hard times being on the Soviet Union waters. So let's go farther. The first Polish refugees in the territory, another group of Poles from Iran arrived at the port of Karachi at the end of August 1942 during the second great evacuation wave from the Soviet Union. On August 18 and 20, in transport number 3 and 4, arrived in total 1,505 people. Polish establishment in Karachi at the time were not financially and organizationally prepared to take a proper care of the refugees. So the whole responsibility for the newcomers initially fell entirely on the British authorities. After the ships with refugees arrived at the port, the local Karachi evacuation committee, headed by the wife of the local governor, provided the Poles with thousands of cookies and cooling drinks. During direct contact with the refugees, it turned out that they need more than cookies, medical care, clothes, and shoes. The committee immediately, especially thanks to the local community, organized the necessary things. Poles were initially accommodated in Haji pilgrim camps located in the Mazury district of Karachi. Before the outbreak of the war, the camp was mainly used for the pilgrims who were going to Mecca. The war unfortunately stopped the movement and the camp was basically empty. The camp building camp consists of dozens barracks with 100 beds in each and several tanks that could accommodate 10 people. There was also a hospital, bath and laundry. The head of the camp was Major Reeves, British Major. On the behalf of the British military authorities, female doctors were seconded to the camp, and soon after the arrival of another group of Polish refugees, 4 nurses emerged in the camp. Poles from American troops, which stationed in Karachi, were used as translators. Because the refugees didn't know the English, they were using only the Polish. Due to unreadiness of Hajj building camps for such a large number of people, it was decided to organize a new and much larger place. The country club camp, known also as the camp of Polish evacuated, began operating on September 4, 1942. It was built in a desert area belonging to an English military base, less than 20 kilometers from the Karachi city center. In the original assumption, it was to serve only as a transit camp for Polish refugees from Iranian centers on their way to permanent settlement. The camp was under the management of the military authorities, British military authorities, and the camp was a closed area. Polish civil authorities were only responsible for constant education and the schooling process. The first impression of the new camp was not the best. It was basically connected with the status of the camp. The camp was not fully completed before the arrival of the refugees. There was a lack of basic equipment such as beds, dishes, but more importantly, the food. The landscape of the area made such depressing impression. The correspondent of a newspaper called A Pole in India wrote about the camp, and quoting, "It has a stern military appearance. Around the desert, covered with cacti, a great stony place with hills on the horizon. On a small hill, a long sack-fenced road. A small chapel on the hill, initially in a tent, and the sun, without the slightest cover, without the slightest shadow." Due to the shortages in equipment, a decision was made to move all the equipment from the Hajj pilgrim camp to the new country club camp. In autumn of 1942, mass transport of people from Iran began to arrive in country club camp. The refugees were to stay in Karachi only for a few days and then move to the permanent center. However, the danger of the sailing on the Indian Ocean and another difficulties in obtaining sufficiently large transport ships significantly extended the stay of country club camp. Therefore, the Polish leadership decided to organize a provisory school for the children. And another obstacle appeared: the lack of appropriate conditions and, more importantly, qualified teachers and textbooks in Polish. However, it was possible to create at the beginning 4 classes. The children, what is important, were divided not by age, but by their mental level. The first class was the most numerous. was around 183 children. The class had 5 divisions. The second class consisted with 105 children. Third class, 118 children. And fourth grade, 114 children. The second, third, and fourth grade had 3 divisions each. The teaching staff consisted only with 16 people. The school program included learning how to write and read in Polish, learning easy poems, learning history and geography, but in the form of fairy tales, elementary arithmetic, prayers, and so-called educational talks. Children from the third and fourth grade had more advanced lessons. Of course, they were learning Polish, more advanced history, geography, arithmetic, geometry, and those for the willing, they were taking part in English class lessons, which were provided by Paul, Mr. Jan Wolsztyn. There were also English lessons for adults, basically conducted in the afternoon. Learning at school took place in the morning from 10 to 12. In the afternoon, around 3 till 5 p.m., there were singing lessons and games and sport activities. In the camp in Karachi, country club camp, Polish authorities also organized a kindergarten for younger children aged between 3 to 7, and in 42 there was 59 children. So that kind of school has been functioning for 3 years with a very huge rotation of teachers. The number of children participating in school activities in particular periods range from 200 to 750. What is interesting actually is the fact that Polish refugees in Karachi began to take some basic jobs. Initially, they found employment in a nearby American camp, especially in workshops. Soon, the refugees established so-called cooperatives named in Polish poem. Unfortunately, I don't find any of it for that word. But the main goal of the cooperative poem was to outfit Poles with basic articles for their everyday use. In a wider perspective, to prepare the refugees to take up economic activity after returning to Poland. Within the cooperative was established, created 2 tailor workshops, one for men and one for women, and also artistic products workshop. Thanks to the financial profit from their work, they were able to allocate some money for scholarship, especially for the orphans, Polish orphans. Between August 24, 1942 and December 3, 1944, more than 21,000 people passed through the country club camp in Karachi. 21,000 people. Here you can see pictures showing the sport activities in Karachi country club camp. As you you can see, the children are very young, especially on the previous pictures where you saw children in the age of 3, 4, and 5. And also, what is striking that the vast majority of refugees are women and children. To go further, in the spring of 1943, due to the significant overcrowding of the country club camp, it was decided to set up near Karachi new transit camp. But I need to emphasize that this country club camp in Karachi was still operating, and the school about which I was discussing previously also was working on a regular basis. The new camp was located in Malir, on the Allied military camp under American leadership. The commander of the camp was General Brady. After talks with the representative of the Polish authorities, Mrs. Kira Banasińska, General Brady agreed to give the camp for Polish refugees. The advantage of the Malir camp was its infrastructure. New spacious buildings with cement floors, plenty of water, efficient sanitary and kitchen facilities, and the most important thing, food. The camp was called the Polish camp in Malir. And another important issue, the vast majority of Malir refugees were still women and children. To give you the picture, at the beginning of the July, there were 2,109 people, including 981 women, 1,000 children, and only 120 men. Ultimately, it was planned to place in Malir 5,000 people. The Malir camp was divided into 2 areas and 1 sub-area. It was an independent administrative and economic unit headed by Polish captain Władysław Jagiełłowicz. At the beginning of April 1943, they were able to establish public school number 1. After the arrival of another transport of Poles from Tehran, the number of teachers increased, but also the number of pupils, students also increased. In the mid-June, they were able to create 4-grade gymnasium with separate high school class. In total, 286 girls and boys studying in the secondary school. What is striking that only 4 fully qualified teachers were working in the Malir camp. Teachers from Karachi gave a hand to Malir camp, and they started to provide English lessons for children and also for adult refugees. What is important, Malir camp, culture and educational activities were extending on a large scale. It was arranged 2 common rooms and scouting within the camp. They also established theaters, chores, group sports were created this amateur theater developed stage plays and fairy tales for children, for adult people, as well as for sick American airmen. Within the old history of those two camps, the country club camp was commanded by Brits in the lead of Major Allen. He exercised power with the help of those and also English military men, and also some Poles who were recruited from among the refugees. The Polish auditories were represented by the Vice Consul, Mr. Gruja. Over time, their responsibilities were separated from Brits and Poles. Brits were responsible for general administration, food, security, post office, and overall conditions of the building. Whereas Poles were responsible for culture, education, clothes supplies, and communication between camps. The camp in Malir operated on slightly different rules. Both auditors tried to give it an organization that would be a model for permanent settlements in India. For instance, they established an office of SAR, and this role was for Polish capital, Władysław Jeziłowicz. Both camps were operating till 1945, because after 1945, people from I cannot put another slide, unfortunately. Polish refugees were relocated to the permanent settlement. They found a place in Warmia. This is the camp located in the territory of India. And after 45, the history of those two camps in Karachi was ended, basically. Just to express how the facilities of those camps look today.
Dr. Magdalena, we are running out of time for this session. Please conclude your remarks, please.
Okay. Unfortunately, I'm to talkative person, so express my apologies for not follow the rules of the time. So, as I said at the beginning, we need to take the memory of those people because on their experiences we can build relations between our two countries. The history of Polish refugees in Pakistan is one bridge to build a house of our mutual relations. Thank you so much.
Dr. Magdalena, thank you so much for honoring my request, and you need a big round of applause again for having this international council.